Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you are doing well today. I'm going to be talking briefly about this. I did cover this in my video yesterday, but of course the big news is still even today that Star Wars boss Kathleen Kennedy is getting an honorary Oscar. I've already said this before, when you look at her work as a producer, I think it's very hard to say that she doesn't have terrible films to her credit, though of course I mentioned Congo and Jess because obviously no one's perfect, but the bigger thing that I wanted to get across is that even if she might be a half-decent producer, it does not automatically then, just because she might be getting an honorary Oscar for her work in the industry, does not mean that she is a good head of Lucasfilm. And a lot of people have been speculating that this might be the telltale sign that maybe she is out the door. She leaves this month, next month, and then she has her triumphant end, at least from the Star Wars perspective, by receiving the award and by giving some speech at the Governor Awards, which again, no one is really going to watch because I've never watched them myself, and they usually give like a small little 2-minute blip on the actual main show of the Oscars, and that's pretty much all it's ever been. But even with that being the case, if this is something that is going to lead to her leaving, then okay. I guess I can understand that because, again, it's not like she doesn't have films to her name to get her this award. The bigger thing that I would have to say, and this is something that was pointed out to Tina, one of my Valkyrie, last night, pointed this out to me because she knows a lot about this award, about Irving Thalberg. So Irving Thalberg, what she was able to tell me, was someone who worked as a producer back in the 1930s, 1940s, and died around the age of 37, died very young, and was known as a boy wonder. Apparently, he just knew exactly what he was doing. He knew how to make films, how to get films made, and did a really great job. So it makes a lot of sense then that even a man who died at the age of 37 has an award named after him, and how frustrated she was at how Kathleen Kennedy, is the one who is receiving that award. And not just that, but of course the entire media spin on this has been, oh, she is the first female to receive this award. And I say this constantly, whenever you're going to bring identity politics into a narrative, you've automatically just isolated so many different people, because at the end of the day, what should matter is who deserves this award the most. And again, I'm not an expert on this award, so I cannot say one way or the other. And I'm not trying to say that she shouldn't be recognized for some of the work that she has done in her career, but just hearing Tina explain just who this character is, who this person is, Irving Thalberg, and the history behind him, and why he is seen and remembered so fondly among the industry. Apparently his wife too was also someone who worked in Hollywood as well, and was also even a part of a film where it was the first all-female cast back in the 1930s. And so the people say, oh, it's revolutionary to have an all-female cast now. No, actually they were doing it back during the 1930s. They were doing these things. But even with that being the case, it just really did reach out to me because of just how passionate Tina was explaining why this hurt her and why this was just made her so frustrated, because of the fact that this is someone, Thalberg, who was a boy wonder, who was somebody who was very good at their craft, who was someone who was able to drive things forward. And again, it's not to say that Kathleen Kennedy doesn't have some good positive qualities. I'm never going to say that any person doesn't have at least something positive or something nice to say about them. So even then I'll say, hey, well, you know what? She did produce some pretty good films over the years. But the reason why I bring this up today, and I reiterate this again, is not just to share the story of Tina, but also to talk about how this is all, of course, being tied back into her work with Star Wars. And I think that if you were to take an honest look at her work as the head of Lucasfilm, I'm sorry, but to try and say that it's been all good, to try and say, but look at the $2 billion, $1.3 billion of all the different films that have come out. Now, of course, the $393 million of Solo: A Star Wars Story, but let's not talk about that. But if you were to look at all those numbers and you were to say, what kind of a legacy is that? I would say she was given one of the hottest properties, one of the hottest IPs in history. Had a great start because she gave the property into the hands of a very capable director in J.J. Abrams, and then she just let it go all downhill. She let it fall on its face. And there are still people that will criticize The Force Awakens, and I understand and hear those criticisms. But to try and say that she has been good for Star Wars, to me, is just being disingenuous. I don't think Star Wars, even during the time of prequels, I don't think Star Wars there has been this much of a backlash or this much disinterest in this property in its entire history, including between the times of the prequels and now, because we had so many stories being told in the extended universe. That includes even before the original trilogy until the prequels. There was so much that was being built into with the extended universe. Clone Wars, of course, added so much to it as well. After we got the prequels, we got the Clone Wars, which also continued to add on to the story. And so to me, to try and put Kathleen Kennedy in this position to be put into the prestige of this award is just disingenuous, because especially if you're going to try and tie in, and you know that they are, and you know that she probably is as well, to try and tie in her work as the head of Lucasfilm, to me is just, it's proof positive as to why she shouldn't receive this award, because she showed she has no respect, no understanding of the source material, which is why she was able to hire someone like Rian Johnson and say, oh, Rian Johnson, write your own script. Oh, you wrote your own script. Oh, wait a minute, this makes no sense before the previous film. Oh, but that's okay. I like working with you, so I guess everything's fine. Again, there's obviously problems there. But the other reason, too, getting back to The Last Jedi, and this is where I want to give a huge shout out to Ivan Ortega. So if you've never checked out Ivan Ortega, go check out his channel. I'm going to link a video. I'm going to link the trailer for his most recent video that he released over the past 24 hours. And it's the teaser trailer for his recut version of The Last Jedi. And I can tell you just straight up, I've only seen it once, that it gave me chills. The fact that he was able to provoke that kind of an emotional response from me just by editing the film in such a way, just by having just the right music, just the right lines, just the shots being put in the right way, he is able, even within that first minute and 30 seconds is how long this trailer is. The fact that in a minute and 30 seconds, Ivan is able to tell a deeper, richer story and more powerful story than the entire 2.5 hours that was The Last Jedi already, before I've even seen the movie, tells me all I need to know about it. And there are people who can try and bash the people who've been trying to remake The Last Jedi, recut The Last Jedi, but all I can say is Ivan Ortega's done a hell of a job. If you've never seen his channel before, this guy, especially when it comes to his editing, is just brilliant. He knows he can take almost any movie or any concept, edit it together, and tell a beautiful story. This guy is so damn talented at editing, and to me, to have him spend so much time, and not to be getting paid for it either. I mean, he's doing this all so that he can provide this movie for free, this recut version of the movie for free. Because what he wants to do is he wants to, obviously for historical purposes, but also too for the fans who wanted to see Luke Skywalker go out the right way, or at least be presented the right way, to see Rey actually receive some kind of training, to see better lightsaber battles, and to see what people want to see in Star Wars films. The fact that he's able to bring all these things, not just by recutting it, but also by adding in his own stuff, to me, from what I've seen so far, has been absolutely brilliant. So that's the other reason why I want to talk about this today, because when I look to what Kathleen Kennedy, and I'm reminded of what Kathleen Kennedy has done with Star Wars, I am immediately brought down. I'm immediately reminded of just the sad state of Star Wars. Again, I'm usually a very positive person. I usually make fun of these things. But at the end of the day, when you look to current state of Star Wars, the fact that there are so many fans, people who had seen the movie in theaters in the 1970s, people who, like me, grew up with the prequels, as crappy as they are, we still at least have that joy for those movies. The fact that people from both the original trilogy and also the prequel trilogy, Clone Wars, are now at the point where a lot of them, so many people are saying, I don't care. I don't care about Star Wars anymore. I don't want to see anything. I'm done. It's just sad. It's just so sad, because obviously I try and say, but wait, there's so many great things in the extended universe. There's the Thrawn trilogy, which if you have not read or have not listened to the audiobook, I highly, highly recommend it. If you want your faith restored, that there can be good stories told in Star Wars, the Thrawn trilogy is one place to start. And I recommend the audiobook, the unabridged audiobook version, because it's just brilliant. Mark Thompson does the voice, does the narration for it, and he captures the spirit of Han Solo, of Luke Skywalker, of Leia, of all these characters, all new characters too, including Thrawn. And it's just incredible. It's absolutely gorgeous. And so I'm reminded of that, and I try and reach out to them. But the fact that even that, or even the concept of us getting a recut of The Last Jedi, for some people is not enough. For some people, it's not enough to bring them out of this dark depth that they've fallen themselves into. It's just really sad. And there's the people out there who attack them, saying like, "Oh, why are they letting a movie, control their emotions and control their feelings? Why should they care so much?" Well, and I've said this constantly before. Obviously, we need to understand, and I think we're all called to understand, that there are certain things that should be placed as being more important in our life. But that does not take away the fact that there can be things that, in the grand scheme of things, might be unimportant. We can't take Star Wars with us when we die. But the fact that there are these things like Star Wars that are able to lift our hearts, that are able to lift our minds, that are able to create such powerful emotions. And again, even just a minute and a half trailer recut by somebody else was enough to make me emotional. And I didn't cry, but it did make me emotional. It gave me butterflies, it gave me goosebumps because of how powerful it was, even in that minute and 30 seconds. And to me, for Kathleen Kennedy to be given this award at this time, again, obviously down the line, sure, you could say, oh, she's done all these things. But at this time, to me, this is just another thorn in the side of so many people who are just so tired of this nonsense. And I really do hope and pray that Disney can listen to the audience, just like the Academy just listened to the audience and said, oh, wait a minute, we're going to take it back. We're not going to have the popular film category. Maybe, just maybe. And I know that Matthew Cadich doesn't agree with me here. Again, brilliant guy. But maybe, just maybe, they'll listen to the audience and say, let's give back to the audience for one. Let's focus on them, and let's give them an experience that they can escape into for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, whatever the length is going to end up being. And let's make it good. And let's do a good job. And if you're not going to do it, Disney, well, guess what? Unfortunately, the ones who've given up on Star Wars, people like me who still believe that Star Wars can be good because the intellectual property is still strong, especially in the EU, especially since I'm catching up with Clone Wars and all these other things, I know that Star Wars will survive. I know that there will be Star Wars eventually. There will be good Star Wars again. But if you are not going to give it to us, thank God for the Ivan Ortegas of the world to give us something to look forward to give us something to be excited about. And the same thing goes for Star Wars Theory. I cannot wait for his Vader fan film. 2 great YouTubers. One who's making his own film, his own fan-made film, which is going to be very high quality based on the money he was able to raise and what his ambition is. And then Ivan Ortega, who has spent hours upon hours upon hours editing, recrafting, shooting, all these other things to make The Last Jedi the movie that it should have been for audiences. And so, Ivan, thank you so much for this trailer, and thank you so much for all the hard work you did. And also, everyone watching, if you are a Star Wars fan, do not give up on Star Wars. Do not let these troglodytes, as I always love to call, do not let these troglodytes tear your joy away, because they will go away. They will pass. They will not hold on to this property forever. And even if they do, there will be good stories that are told. All right, guys, thank y'all so much for watching. I'm just so thankful for every single one of you guys. And again, if you are one of those people that's down, like I've been down at certain times before when dealing with a situation, again, have hope. Again, what do we look back to the first Star Wars, eventually became A New Hope. But I think it's appropriate that Star Wars was eventually, named A New Hope, because what it does is it gives us that concept that we can indeed hope for a brighter future, hope for a brighter Star Wars. And again, if you're just going to say, oh, why do you care so much about a movie? If you have to say that at this moment, then you honestly, one, obviously don't understand what we're coming from, but also, two, you don't have any joy. And I feel sorry for you. So anyway, guys, thank y'all so much for watching. Have a great day. And as always, God bless.